Hey everybody, I'm going to be showing you today how to use Photoshop to digitally manipulate your images that we have been taking on the various field trips, whether it would be just cleaning them up so they look a little bit nicer or really visually enhancing them so that they kind of dramatically impact the viewer. In order to start the project, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to first create a folder to save all of the images you'll be manipulating to. And to do that, you want to go File, New Folder, and title it with your name and then photography. And that way, if another student is using the same computer, your work won't accidentally get deleted. You're also going to want to find one picture you really like off of your Google Drive and download it to the desktop. So this is the picture I'm sort of interested in working with. It's a photo I took at the Crane Foundation, and I really liked the juxtaposition of the fence with the crane and how the fence is really out of focus and the crane is in focus, and you can see all these details of the feathers. It made me think of the composition type juxtaposition because it sort of looks like the crane, you know, in captivity. What could that mean for the crane? So it sort of had a negative feel, and I thought that was really interesting to look at. So I'm going to be working with this picture, and I'm going to just pop it into my folder so I make sure I don't lose it. Then I can go ahead and open Photoshop. You'll find the Photoshop is the bottom icon that says PS. And it is going to be working with manipulating our photos in this program. What you want to do is first bring in your original photo into Photoshop. And how you do that is you go File, Open. And I'm going to find that Rachel Photography folder. And then I can select my image, hit Open, and it's going to go ahead and open the image in Photoshop. We're going to be working with this menu over here, which says Adjustments. And adjustments are how you do different changes to an image, whether it's adjusting the color, adjusting textures, adjusting sharpness. It gives us lots of images that we can work with. And if I hover my mouse over, it'll tell you the different things that you can use. We're going to be working with the brightness and contrast. We're going to be working with exposure. We're going to be working with vibrance. We're going to be working with hue and saturation. We're going to be working with color balance. We're going to be working with black and white and photo filter. And I also will be showing you how to crop, which is one of the tools that's actually over here. The other thing you're going to definitely need for this project is your history brush, which is this button right here. You can see when I click on it. What comes up is my first original image, and then as I do stuff, it's going to appear in a list here. And so if I don't like something, I can always go back, click on the original image, and it will undo any of the changes I make. So that's going to come in handy for me as I'm sort of adjusting my original image. So the first thing I want to show you is brightness and contrast. When I click on this, a little menu pops up, and these little levers allow me to adjust the picture. So if I want to turn how bright it is up, I can do that. If I go really far, you can see it gets kind of overexposed. If I go down, it gets kind of dark. And I'm going for sort of a moodier look. So I think with this one, I'm going to turn the brightness down. Now if I turn the contrast up, you can see the darks get really dark and the lights get really light. And if I turn it down, it really grays it out. So I'm going to, just to add that drama, I'm going to turn my contrast up. Really makes the fence pop against the crane. And that's what that looks like. When I clicked on that, it's tried to select it. So I'm just going to undo that. So that's kind of one adjustment I could make. I can always go to the history brush, click on the original, and you can see it undid everything I just did. If I go over to exposure, this comes in handy if you feel like your photo is way too bright because the flash kind of brightened everything up and you don't want it to look quite that way. So you can see I could adjust it if the picture's really dark, or if the flash really brightened things up, I can turn it down. You can kind of play around with these levels to give it a different effect depending on what you're sort of interested in. So that's exposure. Next thing I can play around with is vibrance, and vibrance has to do with color, thinking about color. So if I turn this up, you can see that the colors become a little bit more intense. Then saturation is individual colors, how rich they are. So that's super saturated. And this one is no color whatsoever. So it always helps to turn saturation up just a little bit, really make that red around the eye and the feathers pop. The little bit of red on the nose starts to pop. So that can come in handy for kind of bringing out the colors. Hue and saturation allows you to kind of play around with how much of a color is present. So if I want the whole thing to be super saturated with blues, I can go this way. If I want it to be super saturated with greens, I can go this way. And you can kind of play around with those colors. And it allows you to adjust some of the levels of intensity of the colors. So this could come in handy if you really want to pop a green. I could kind of go into the green category and bring out some of the greens in the grass. That can come in kind of handy for me. And again, if you're not liking how things are going, go to your history brush, go to the original, and now it came back. Color balance has to do with just focusing on a singular color. So if I really wanted to have this kind of blue, sad look, I could go this way. If I really want the reds to be the main thing that pop, make it look like a sunset, I could go that way. So it gives you different options. Want to give it a real pink or a real green look. This can come in handy with using color to associate with feeling. Well, kind of a sunny yellow, make it more of a happy image. I really like how the blue looks. Kind of gives it that intensity of sadness of the crane. So I could play around with that. That's our color balance option. Black and white is a very classic way to think about sort of nostalgia or the past, or can give it kind of a vintage look. And this will allow you to play around with the grays in your black and white image. So I can adjust some of these levels. It's picking what's yellow in the picture and then adjusting it to represent that gray color. So this can kind of be fun for bringing out different textures of different parts. And then you can always go back to your brightness and contrast, and then that can really impact a black and white picture too. Kind of like that. And again, I'm going to go to the history brush just because I'm just playing around right now. It's my brightness and contrast. Photo filter is the last one I want to show you, and this would be like as if you put something on your lens to bring out certain types of colors. So there's different types of warming filters. They'll make the whole picture look warm. Cooling filters go over the whole picture, make it look kind of cool. You can play around with very specific types of colors. This can sometimes look a little bit like a filter you might see on your cell phone, but it's kind of up to you. For example, there's sepia, which is a really classic one. And then if you play around with the level, it can show the intensity of that color. So you can really play up the filter. If there's a certain filter you want, you really want it to be intense, you can just kick up the level. So for example, that blue can be kind of intense. And the last one I'm going to show you is cropping. So that's all the way over here. It's this tool, and again, if you hover over it, it'll reveal what it is. So there's my cropping tool. And so for this one, I may want to pick out just a singular part of the crane that I think really is an important part. And that eye to me really stands out. So I'm going to go ahead, go over that. And if I don't like it, I can click on the square and actually move it around until I find the composition that I like. I kind of like that, but I feel like you need more of the crane to tell what it is. So I'm going to go with that. And I really like how that's kind of separated in the middle. And then all I have to do is click. It'll ask me, do I want to crop or don't crop? And I can do crop. And then there's my picture. So let's say I really liked how I cropped that, because I'm trying, the goal of the assignment is to make 4 different pictures that are from the same image that look kind of different. So I might make some adjustments to my crane here based on some of the things that I've experimented with. I think this one wanted to look a little bit more kind of reddish, kick that up so the eye pops out more. I like this one, so I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to title this Rachel Image 1. Whoop. Misspelled that. Rachel Image 1. There we go. And this is really important. I'm going to change it to a JPEG, because otherwise it's going to save it as a Photoshop file, and I can't put that in to my final presentation that I'm going to show to the class. I'm going to save it into my folder, hit save, and then I'll hit OK. It'll plop it into that folder for me, and then I can go back to my history brush, undo this, and then I can start making a totally different looking photo. So maybe this time I'm going to play around with black and white. I'll make my adjustments, kind of play around with the different parts, trying to make some stuff pop. Go to brightness and contrast, kick up the contrast, and then I like that one. And then again, File, Save As. This will be my image 2. Again, change it to a JPEG, save into that same file. And I'm going to do this 4 different times to make the same picture look 4 different ways. And remember, one of them needs to be the crop.